Om Stavakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharmaswarupine Stavakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharmaswarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namaha Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukampadrita Vigraham Vai Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukampadrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Sirasa Namami Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic: Holy Mother, the paragon of woman's excellences. Yesterday we celebrated the special worship of Holy Mother. She is popularly called the Holy Mother, the consort of Sri Ramakrishna. Number of people, both men and women, would come to her for spiritual solace. By her maternal solicitude, winsome simplicity and purity of character, she transformed the lives of many devotees. She nurtured the Ramakrishna movement in its initial stages. In and through her, Sri Ramakrishna sought to give India and the world a myriad faceted gem of the ideal of womanhood at its noblest and best. We find in her life reincarnate all those ideals for which the greatest of Indian women stood for in the ages past. Sita's unswerving devotion and service to her Lord through all the vicissitudes of fortune, Savitri's chastity and dauntlessness, Gargi's grasp of spiritual truths, and Maitreyi's scorn of wealth and yearning for immortality. Mother, this single word encompasses tremendous emotional volume of love, selflessness, sacrifice, security, and calm repose. Mother. The sweet music brings holiness and purity of thought to the mind. It brings forth the serene power of creation and sustenance through the ages. Like Mother Earth, the human motherhood also creates, sustains, and fulfills the physical and emotional needs of its children without any grudge or irritation. Such simplicity, frugality, purity, and grandeur was embodied in the form of the Holy Mother, Mahasi Sharda Devi, the spiritual consort of Sri Ramakrishna. She was born in a tiny village of Jairambati in West Bengal in the year 1853. She was married to Sri Ramakrishna in her early childhood, as the divine play had it. They lived a pure life without physical sense of enjoyment. Her marriage with Sri Ramakrishna was an example of union of two souls and not of two bodies in usual sense as we understand. We get reference of such union of souls or divine love relationship in the life of Sri Krishna and Radha. After staying with her parents, Ma Sharda Devi joined her husband Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar in the year 1871. Sri Ramakrishna received her with respect and warmth. He asked her about the purpose of their marriage, to which Ma Sharda replied, "I have come to help you in your efforts to seek God. By forcing physical relationship, I do not want to drag you down to the sensate, worldly plane." Sri Ramakrishna accepted Sri Sharda Devi as his first disciple and worshipped her as Mother of Universe, divine universal power, and surrendered all his spiritual realizations at her holy feet. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Sharda is Shakti, the power, like the sun and its light, fire and its warmth, milk and its whiteness, and diamond and its luster. She is knowledge personified, and the world will learn a lot from her. In the year 1886, when Sri Ramakrishna developed serious illness of throat and knew that his life on this earth was short, he told Ma Sharda to look after and help spiritual upliftment of thousands of the people entangled in the mesh of worldliness. The Holy Mother shouldered this great responsibility of spiritual awakening of masses with calm repose and maturity. Her silence, holiness, purity, and impromptu replies to complicated spiritual dilemmas will always remain etched in the golden letters. For 24 years after the passing away of Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Sharada Devi effectively carried out the aims and objectives of Ramakrishna Math and mission. This she accomplished by immense faith in the divinity of Sri Ramakrishna, constant prayers, and japa sadhana. Once she prayed to God, "O Lord, there is a semblance of black spot on the moon. Let my life and character be more spotless, pure, clean, and calm than the moon." It may be difficult for us to understand the purpose of her mission of simplicity and purity in this materialistic culture. However, in the words of Swami Gambhiranandaji, one of our late presidents of Ramakrishna Order, in this era of information explosion and scientific discoveries, the enemy is not outside demon, but is inside our mind in the form of desires and wants, lust and power, vasanas. So in the present incarnation, as the Holy Mother, there is no clanging of weapons or the din of war, but there is abundance of modesty, humility, purity, goodness, practical love, and spiritual experience. Moreover, the deity has not only to remove the obstacles, she has also to establish new goals and create fresh aspirations. And this is a tremendous task. As the whole of humanity has to be raised to a higher pitch of realization, divine power herself takes the field. During her last illness, Holy Mother's advice to one of her devotees is the supreme statement of universality of spirit, human understanding, and oneness of soul. She said, "If you want peace, don't find faults with others, but find fault rather with yourself. Learn to make the world your own. No body is a stranger, my dear. The world is yours." When we try to conjure up mentally the picture of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, the picture that emerges is one of pristine purity. The flesh has, as it were, ceased to be. The human form is only a sheath to manifest the glory of the transcendent spirit. The pigment required to paint the picture of this holy couple, in the words of Swami Tapasyanandaji, is not sex but self. Without any physical intimacy, they were ever united in a perfect union of souls like Shiva and Shakti. In spite of the distance and separation of years, they were inseparable like fire and its power to burn. Ever poised in each other, they held each other in perfect reverence and had deep consideration for each other's tastes and inclinations. How many of those who cannot imagine married life without physical relations can live in peace, harmony, and perfect understanding? Whereas Sri Ramakrishna and Sri Sharda Devi, by their very living, have created Mahapurushas and Nagmahashiyas, the highest specimens of immaculate purity, without the least taint of corporeal passion. Chandra Devi, the mother of Sri Ramakrishna, had shifted to Dakshineshwar in her old age in order to be close to her son and the holy river Ganges. The Ganges indeed. Could she then imagine that the little bride of her darling Gadadhar was like the cooling, soothing, purifying Ganges, that she in future would cleanse and purify many by swallowing the poison of their lust, greed and anger in the profound depths of her heart? The mother has set the ideal of chastity both for the monks as well as the householders. The mother of millions and yet the eternal virgin, such was the mother at whose lotus feet the yogis meditate from yuga to yuga's end of chastity. From yuga to yuga for chastity. By her gracious look or a mere touch could she grant brahmacharya to the very soul of a person. With her at the focus of the mental eye, the alluring female is transmuted into the assuring divinity. So, Sri Sharda Devi is a personification of purity. Jairambati, Sri Sharda Devi's native village, it was a small village. Vast green fields lie spread on all sides of it. Amodar, a small rivulet with its transparent water, flows by its northern boundary. The whirlpools here and there are full of fish and blooming lotuses. Tall palm trees on the bank of the big tank delight the sight. As a merry, playful girl, Sri Sharda Devi wandered freely amid the natural beauty of the place. And now suddenly she found herself confined to a small octagonal room at Nahabat in Dakshineshwar. Like a bird of the air confined to a cage, used to ease and freedom of village life. How uncomfortable it must have been to the mother to live in that small room which she shared with other women devotees. And things lay scattered on the floor or hung overhead on slings. Yet no place or situation could disturb Sri Sharda Devi, her inner tranquility, because contentment was her main strength. What limitation of space could engage that free soul forever? How could it engage that free soul, ready to take flight in the infinite space of Chidakasha? With no facility for bath or toilet at Nahabat, the mother chose to bathe in the Ganges and attend to her other needs early morning at 3 a.m. when not a soul stirred in the near vicinity. Then she would remain in the room the whole day long, content to dry and sun her hair on the steps of the veranda in the afternoon. Living only at a distance of 25 feet from Thakur, Srishada Devi remained calm and collected, to getting his glimpse only once in 2 months, gazing at his ecstatic singing and dancing only through a hole in the bamboo screen. After the master's exit from the world, the mother had to face utter poverty and loneliness, with none to share her woes. Dressed almost like a beggar woman, she had to dig the earth to cultivate some greens. Until these were ready, she subsisted on plain rice without even salt to add. Resigning herself to the will of divine, she bore all these privations with calm fortitude. No princely pomp, no wealthy store was hers. Yet she exemplified that a contented mind was the greatest treasure a person could possess, unknown to men of possessions. Poor are they who, having plenty, crave for more, toil in vain to hoard things impermanent, even through deceit and cunning. Ever contented in this bliss of self, whenever any sweets, fruits or dainties were offered to her, she seldom partook of them herself, but fed with them her devotee children. In poverty and plenty, Srishada Devi maintained perfect equanimity. Sleeping on a comfortable bed with a soft pillow and mattress, or lying down on a stiff mat and a hard pillow, made no difference to her. Radhu subjected her to agonizing torture. The Holy Mother, the wife of a great yogi who could not bear to see a tear in her eyes, who was so particular to shield her from others' slights and never so much as hit her with a flower. Radhu abused and cursed the mother unsparingly, threw objects at her indiscriminately, and flouted her every wish. Yet, what enduring forbearance of human frailties was hers. She not only bestowed her intense love on this half-witted, petulant child of her deceased brother, but prayed to Thakur fervently to forgive her misdemeanor. Why only Radhu? The mother remained ever untouched by the frequent rudeness of Hriday. No jibs of the villagers at Jailambati, like Shama's daughter has been married to a lunatic, could rob her of her inner peace. Calmly did she endure the sarcastic remarks and criticism of people at Kamarpukur because of her unconventional dress as a widow. Assured of Thakur's living presence through repeated visions, she had continued wearing her gold ornaments and thin red-bordered sari. Sweetness and forbearance characterized her dealings with the devotees too. Patiently did she put up with the freaks and idiosyncrasies of many a troublesome devotee. One carried on for a long time his breathing exercises in mother's presence as if she were a wooden statue. The mother perspired profusely all the while, covered as she was with a sheet. Another forcibly struck his head against her toe so that she might not forget him. Who could have lived as she did, a paragon of fortitude? Who else could have translated the stubbornness of circumstances and follies of people into such a sweet style through contentment? Whether the Holy Mother lived at Calcutta or at Jarambati, her village, her life was one of ceaseless work. Anybody who came in contact with Sri Sharda Devi was the recipient of her loving service. Even as a small girl, she actively participated in strenuous work at field and home. Going into neck-deep water, she often got fodder for the cows and carried lunch to the laborers in the field. She shared with her mother household duties like cooking, spinning sacred thread, and the care of her brothers. But it was in that little room at Dakshineshwar, where she lived for years, that she enacted a pageant of love and a ceaseless conduct of selfless service in a spirit of fervent devotion defies analysis. In that stuffy and secluded room at Nahabat, Sri Sharda Devi kept all her supplies in spite of the hardships and physical discomforts. She considered that to be the best period of her life. Here she could serve the Master, which was her greatest joy. Not only did she cook food that suited Sri Ramakrishna's delicate stomach, she could be of service to him in sundry ways. At times, when there were no devotees nearby, she massaged Sri Ramakrishna's body with oil, stroked his feet, and carried his food to him. She made string suspenders for him to hang the pots of sweets for his young disciples. She prepared betel rolls in great numbers and flower garlands for the Divine Mother. As days went by and the devotees began to arrive, the volume of her cooking increased considerably. But without a frown, without showing the least sign of exasperation, she not only affectionately welcomed all, but fed each with the stuff of his choice. For Ramdatta, she cooked chapatis and gram dal and khichdi for Rakal. Amidst her crowded schedule, she was equally vigilant about the service of her mother-in-law. Even before she called the mother's name in full, she rushed to her lest the old mother should be inconvenienced. Unmindful if her head struck against low door frame. What a peaceful acceptance of any labor that was called for. What indefatigable service and devotion. Devamata, who visited the mother at the Udbodhan, wrote, "Mother occupied the upper floor with a few women disciples. She lived as they, performing the same homely tasks, making no effort to differentiate herself from others, save by greater modesty, greater gentleness and humility." The mother often grew weary of the restricted life in Calcutta and returned to the freedom of village life at Jarambati. She had already shouldered entire responsibility of her physically ailing and mentally retarded niece, Radhu, and her insane mother. To this were now added the care of her other brothers and their families. The brothers, realizing the warm feeling their sister had for them, looked to her for help. They also constantly worried her with their endless quarrels to extract the most from their loving sister. The mother not only did her best to make them comfortable, she also tried to keep peace between them through her winsomeness. Besides She tenderly served myriads of devotees who flocked to her for guidance. Tirelessly, Shishada Devi served them from dawn to night, fanned them, cooked for them, fed them, looked after their every comfort, even performed japa for their welfare, keeping awake at night. It was not unusual to see her going from door to door for milk, limping due to rheumatism. She was limping because of rheumatism, maybe to feed a sick devotee or to prepare tea for another. Thus, even in her old age, Shishada Devi kept herself busily engaged, arranging for the worship, distributing prasad, boiling milk, cleaning lamps, winnowing rice and kneading flour. At that time, there were many who could relieve her from such jobs. Brahmachari Gopesh saw no sense in mother's toiling like that and asked her the reason. She simply said that it was good to be diligent and to pray for her so that she might work as long as she lived. Not a moment did she spend in vain, even while peeling and dressing vegetables and fruit. Shishada Devi sang devotional songs or talked to the devotees who unburdened their hearts of loads of sin and woes. And she soothed them in her ethereally soft and gentle voice. She alone lived because she lived for others. Every action of hers became charged with a hallowed sanctity because it was a great selfless service. Thus did the mistress of the cosmos live as an unostentatious and indigent woman and demonstrated that even the most humdrum duties of life, like scouring utensils or plastering the house with cow dung, could be performed as spiritual acts. About the ideal of womanhood, education was not considered necessary for a village girl, lest she should stuff her mind with all sorts of nonsense by reading all types of books. But the Holy Mother Saraswati herself, who came to dispel the ignorance of millions, was she to read novels and dramas? Like any other village girl, she did not receive any formal education and learned to read through her own efforts and read only the Mahabharata and Ramayana and spoke only words of wisdom. She had learnt calmness from the placid rural surroundings, learnt to be as vast as the open sky under which she had moved freely, imbibed piety and purity from seeing and hearing devotional dramas and epic recitals in her childhood, developed a spirit of selfless service and devotion from her parents. Further, she had learnt contentment and fortitude, forgiveness and compassion from the great swan she was wedded to. In her we find knitted together all those cardinal virtues essential to the texture of Indian womanhood. To Sister Nivedita, the mother was Sri Ramakrishna's final word as to the ideal of Indian womanhood. But is she the last of an old order or the beginning of a new? She asked. With a regard for all those eternal values which were fast becoming extinct, the mother was truly the last of an old order. At the same time, in spite of her being brought up amidst rigidly orthodox surroundings, she broke away with all caste and racial prejudices. So she certainly was the ideal of the beginning of a new order. We have seen how the mother effaced herself completely in discharging her duties, both in her parental as well as husband's house, which made her an ideal daughter, affectionate sister, dutiful wife, and expert housewife. But it was in her universal motherhood that her great liberal-mindedness was particularly revealed. She hugged all in the cosmic sweep of her motherly embrace, be it a Muslim laborer or a village sweeper, a Brahmin or a Kayastha, a foreigner or a native, a drunkard or a criminal. Rising above all conventionality and narrowness, she fed all with the ambrosia of her love that only gives but expects nothing in return. Nay, gives even when any return takes the shape of kicks and abuses, ingratitude and persecution. She has set the highest ideal of maternal love, the central pivot on which rests the stability of home life. Contrary to the prevalent views, the mother did not hold marriage as the ultimate goal of every girl. She herself arranged for the education of her nieces. If a girl wanted to lead a celibate life, Shishata Devi approved of it. In her opinion, the girl could be sent to Sister Nivedita's school to develop her all-round faculties. Why should she be forced into worldliness against her natural inclinations? Was it not an intolerable oppression to remain in lifelong slavery to another? With all her vastness and broad outlook, the mother has made her appeal in the West too. Even the Western women could see in her their ideal. They were amazed at the manner in which she understood the Easter hymns and the Western marriage vow, and exclaimed, "Oh, the dharmic words!" To their surprise, she ate with Mrs. Bull and Miss MacLeod and allowed Nivedita to live with her, even in the face of opposition from Orthodox women. Once Miss MacLeod stood at mother's door, unable to decide how she should pay her respects to her. The mother indicated with her hand that Western devotees need not salute her by kneeling and touching her feet. She was impressed by mother's pragmatism. Sister Nivedita also found in her the very soul of practicality and common sense. With her versatility, the mother has entered into the hearts and minds of the Westerners. One of the Western devotees said, "If we in the West would think less of the beauty, comfort and adornment of our bodies and our dwellings, much more of the nourishment of the spirit and a balanced harmony of living, there will be fewer restless neurotics among us, a higher standard of living in a truer sense." Another person remarked, "The very fact that she manifested herself as a woman is enough to lift up the whole of womankind the world over. She renews for us the highest ideal, that of pure and selfless dedication, self-sacrifice and self-abnegation, thus reminding us that whether it be applied to the wife, the nun, the mother, the teacher, the ideal is ever the same." Though illiterate, the Holy Mother's life was the open book from which all could learn the art of perfect living. The lustful and the greedy, the learned and the educated, the ignorant and the foolish, the embodiment of all goddesses. She made her advent as a simple, rustic woman, but all bedecked with what precious jewels was she. Try howsoever we may, with all our human limitations, we can manifest only a little of these virtues. It's only by praying to her incessantly and taking shelter at her feet that the mother power lying dormant in each one of us will be aroused. Only then will she take us to that abode of bliss where it is all calm, and then shall cease our indecent clinging to this bubble existence. With varied vagaries, quelled will be the tumultuous waves of the restless mind. Then alone shall we live in her till eternity, and not merely exist for a couple of days to be mingled in dust time and again. These earthly ties are transitory, Shishada Devi used to say. Today, they seem to be the be-all and end-all of life, and tomorrow they vanish, if real tie is with God. The Holy Mother did not teach the same way Sri Ramakrishna taught his future disciples, devotees, or even curious visitors. Her life was very simple, not different in any way from that of women of rural India of her time. She took care of the household and did all the household chores. Swami Premananda, one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, said, "You have seen with your own eyes how the mother, who is in reality the great goddess ruling over those who wield the destinies of kings and emperors, has yet elected to become a poor woman plastering the house with cow dung, scouring utensils, winnowing rice, and cleaning the leavings of the devotees after their meals. She undertakes all these tasks to teach the householders the domestic duties. What infinite endurance, limitless mercy, and absolute absence of egotism are there." However, the Holy Mother initiated a large number of devotees, both monastics and householders. Whoever came to her received her blessings, for she was the mother of all. Every disciple was her child. If she had no new devotee at her place at Jarambati, she would often be heard to say, "There is no devotee today." Addressing to the master, she would say, "This day too is gone in vain. No one turned up today. Did you not say you will have to do something or the other every day?" She kept on looking out to see if anyone was coming, saying to the master with fixed eyes, "How is it, master? Will the day go in vain?" The Holy Mother taught with every mundane activity of her daily life. She taught simple instructions on how to meditate, how to practice japa, and to develop the attitude of surrendering to the Lord. She emphasized the importance of japa for spiritual seekers. Try to remember the Master always and perform your japa whenever you can. At least you can salute him mentally, can't you? The mind will be studied if one repeats the name of God 15 or 20,000 times a day. It is truly so. At the same time, the Holy Mother also stressed on the importance of work. How can the mind be kept well without work? Is it possible to meditate all 24 hours of the day? So one has to take up some work that keeps the mind in good shape. One should always be active. One should never be without work, for When one is idle, all sorts of bad thoughts crop up in one's mind. And karma, the Holy Mother taught, the result of karma is inevitable. But by repeating the name of God, you can lessen its intensity. If you are destined to have a wound as wide as a plowshare, you will get pinprick at least. The effect of karma can be counteracted to a great extent by japa and austerities. If you do good action, that will counteract your past evil action. Past sin can be counteracted by meditation, japa, and spiritual thought. So, a few incidents we shall see how very interesting. Once Holy Mother was about to leave Calcutta for her home village, Jarambati, and said to a little girl, "Darling, you have been visiting for a long time. Do you love me?" "Yes," said the girl, "I love you very much." "How much?" The girl stretched her arms as wide as she could. "That much." "Will you still love me when I am away at Jarambati?" "Yes, I will love you just the same. I shall not forget you." Then the mother said, "Let me tell you how to love all equally." Then mother said to that girl, "Don't demand anything from those you love. If you make demands, some will give you more and some less. In any case, you will love more those who give you more and less those who give you less. Thus your love will not be the same for all. You will not be able to love all impartially." Holy Mother visited South India and stayed at Bangalore for about a week. She did not know South Indian language and she could speak only Bengali, which was not known to the people in the south. And once when she returned to the ashram, after visiting some shrines there, Holy Mother found the whole compound full with visitors and her devotees. The mother, who was visibly moved at the sight, alighted from the carriage and stood there motionless for about 5 minutes, extending her right hand in benediction. Perfect silence reigned all around. The whole atmosphere was changed with silence. There was speechless transmission and inhibition of transcendental bliss. Who was there? She said, "What a pity. I don't know their language. What a solace they would derive if I speak a few words." When the Swami translated her predicament to the devotees said, No, it is all right for us. Our hearts are full indeed. No words are indeed needed on such occasion. Wonderful are the ways of the mother, and wonderful are those of her children. Swami Vivekananda recognized the true power of simple mother. It was thought, if we accept Ramakrishna as the Lord, then it is imperative that power accompanying him in the form of Sharada Devi must be his Shakti and nothing else. Therefore, before leaving for America for the Chicago Parliament, Swamiji sought special permission blessings of Mother Sharada Devi. Similar was the case with all the monastic and household disciples of Ramakrishna. Every one of them in some way or the other, or in some form or the other, had the glimpse of divinity shining through the mother's personality, however she tried to cover her divine nature. She guided her children in every stage of despondency, difficulty and calamity. She was instrumental in acquiring the much-needed land for the temple of Sri Ramakrishna and for stay of the disciples at one place. Thus Belur Mutt and Ramakrishna Mission came into being. She open-heartedly welcomed and accepted foreign disciples of Swami Vivekananda. Sister Nivedita stands out as a shining example. In the next mail we see the most graceful and wonderful relationship between Orthodox Indian mother and British modern Nivedita. Though an Orthodox Brahmin widow, for whom there were many restrictions for her social interaction and pattern of life, like eating in the company with others, mixing with foreigners and low-caste people, etc., simple mother, Shishada Devi mixed freely with the foreigners. Sister Nivedita, Margaret Noble, Sister Christine and Mrs. Olebull came to India with Swami Vivekananda in the year 1897-98 as his disciples. They were impressed by the novel message of Neo-Vedanta as expounded by Swamiji. These disciples were keen to visit those holy places where their Guru's Guru, Ramakrishna, and simple mother, Shishada Devi, lived and undertook sadhana to realize God. Even Swami Vivekananda was skeptical whether everything would go smoothly. Mother would accept her white disciples with love. But broad-hearted, simple mother, mother of the whole universe, treated the trio, these foreign women, with such easy love and care that in the words of Sister Nivedita, Mother, we were Hindus in our previous birth. We are born over there so that the Master's message may spread. It is incomprehensible to a girl brought up in an inaccessible village, totally uneducated in the modern sense, amidst rural simplicity and ignorance of the outer modern world, to take such a liberal attitude and show stately courtesy. But her all-comprehending motherliness, liberal outlook, and progressive thought elevated her to the level where distances and colors were obliterated, yielding place to only an unquestionable affection, unending love, and perpetual blessings. Not all household disciples initially accepted Shishada Devi as great spiritual power or mother of universe on her own. They respected her and revered her as Guru Mata, wife of their Guru Sri Ramakrishna. It was to the credit of Swami Niranjanananda, the monastic disciple, and Girish Ghosh, a household disciple, who brought the true glory of the Holy Mother to the public eye and mind. In this regard, it would be worthwhile to study the following incidents. Girish Ghosh was a true disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. He was a great poet and a dramatist of his time. In this matter, he was famous all over Bengal. He was the first to announce that Sri Ramakrishna was the greatest incarnation of God. He had more than 100% faith in Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, and Ma Sharda Devi. But Girish was of bad conduct, alcoholic, and of loose character. Therefore, he was reluctant to go to Jarambati to visit Holy Mother. He used to say, I am so sinful that her purity burns my skin. I cannot stand her divinity. With what face can I go to salute her? I am so sinful. But once Swami Niranjanananda forced Girish to accompany him to Jarambati from Calcutta. One day, Girish, after taking bath with wet clothes on the body, went running to the mother's house to pay his respect and salute her holy feet. Keeping his eyes low, he saluted the mother and was about to leave when he looked up and saw the radiant divine face of simple mother for the first time. And what a wonder! Oh my! It is you, to be sure, mother, said Girish Babu in utter surprise. This astonishment was derived from an earlier crisis in Girish Babu's life. Once young Girish, then in the grip of cholera and apparently on the deathbed without any hope of survival, had a glimpse of a radiant motherly figure putting some sacred food into his mouth so that he should recover. Eat, said the divine effulgent motherly figure. She wore a cloth of broad red borders and was full of heavenly light, and her face was wonderfully lit up by a benign smile. Girish recovered soon from the deadly disease, and the vivid dream remained ever fresh in his mind. Today, he recognized, after so many years, that dream face was none other than Holy Mother's. So exactly were the two faces were alike. And then Girish realized and knew that it was this Divine Mother who had been protecting him all along. Yet to make assurance doubly sure, Girish asked Holy Mother whether she had revealed herself to him previously. Mother admitted and said, I am your true mother, a mother not by virtue of being your Guru's wife, nor because of any assumed relationship, nor by way of empty talk, but truly the mother. Thus we see how Sri Shada Devi, by her exemplary virtues, she demonstrated in her life the ideal of womanhood, and how being a woman she could be very sacred, and she could serve and express her motherly love and affection. The whole creation is sustaining on account of the love of the Divine Mother. So all of us are enjoying our activities in one way or other on account of the infinite grace and blessings of the Divine Mother. May we invoke her infinite grace and blessings so that we are able to live the life of purity and realize our spiritual goal, so that we are released from all sufferings and problems and restlessness in this world. Thank you all. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. May the Lord protect us, may He nourish us, may our knowledge be fruitful and enlightened, may we not hate each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.